Hello horror fans and welcome to another episode of Silver Screams. Tonight we are taking a look at Scream Queens episode 6, question mark, 7 Minutes in Hell. Which I like, anytime I look at the names of these I usually laugh because
they're good names.
Yeah, they
really
good.
are.
I loved this episode. I didn't like it as much as the previous episode. I think the previous episode is still my favorite, the Pumpkin Patch. But this was a really great follow-up, and I really liked this one.
I honestly think I like this one a little more than last episode.
Really?
Possibly because I've had a little more time to have it sink in, and possibly because we watched it a second time before doing this, so I caught a lot more. I saw more of the nuance. Like, there were a few things when it came to camera work, when it came to what characters were doing, that I didn't catch the first time around.
Like Chad unbuttoning his pants. Not so subtly.
Yeah. And just the level of detail into this, I don't think you can catch the first time around. Like at the one point where Chanel is revealing, no, I wanted to be voted out. I've watched all these mafia documentaries, and if you're at the top, you have a target on you. The part, any of the camera work where it's down on the ground looking up at her is unsteady, but only slightly. So it's like someone is watching her. So it basically puts the camera at the level of the Chanels and makes the audience a Chanel. And that just, I thought that was really good, really subtle camera work. And so it's just a whole bunch of things like that that I didn't catch the first time around. And I think that's probably why I like this one more, because I saw more of the details into it and I saw more of the effort. And I thought the kills were, well, the second kill was a hell of a lot funnier. But I will miss Sam.
I was going to say, you mean the third kill?
The third kill.
There were 3 this time around. This is the highest body count Scream Queens has had. Armless guy.
Armless guy, that's right. Yeah, the third kill.
Whose name
armless
escaped
dude, let's be real.
Yeah.
Third kill, you're right, with the nail gun.
For me, this episode just cemented in my head who at least one of the Red Devils is, because I know I've been predicting that it's the guy who has a crush on Zayday from Chad's fraternity, and like this episode makes me think that even more so, because
he just disappeared into the ether.
He was there at the scene of the crime for the third murder, but he was in the background, and it was this, and I will be honest, even watching this episode twice, when they found Sam, I didn't see him, but I'm pretty sure he was there, but if he was there, he was in the very back. And again, that would make it very easy for him to slip in and out. And I wouldn't even necessarily think that he was the one doing most of the killing in the house, because we know for a fact there's more than one.
And they would notice him missing.
But the thing that makes me kind of, for one, is one of the Red Devils' obvious affection for Zayday. And then 2, we didn't necessarily see his hand most of this episode.
That's
he
true.
Conveniently had his arms crossed. And then, goodness, he knew that the Chanels were having a slumber party. And
How?
Whether that was Zayday telling him or if that just, again, it's kind of suspicious. And it was his idea to have an intervention for Chad, and it was his idea to go over to the Chanels, so to the Kappa house, right as all this stuff with their security system
is going down.
Is going haywire. Exactly. All that's just a little too suspicious for me, mister.
And I feel like
I'm going to hang out at the back of a crime scene.
And I feel like Chad has probably told his entire frat about the security system. Like, oh yeah, I had this totally great idea.
Panic room, guys. Panic room. It's
the
best.
And then we had sex.
Because that's the way Chad talks.
Maybe. But it's Chad. I don't think Chad is smart enough to be one of the devils, because if he were, everyone would know. And I find it hard to believe that he can keep up this particular level of stupid that perfectly for that long. Like, I can see a certain level of playing dumb, but his is just so pitch perfect all the time that I think it's natural.
It is pitch perfect all the time, isn't it?
It is.
It's just lovely to watch. It's so great. And again, I don't think he's a Red Devil either, but if he happened to be a Red Devil, then, man, he played everybody.
Including the audience.
That would be,
Very
like,
bad.
again, stupid like a fox. But yeah, no, I don't think it's him. My eye is on his friend, who at this, in this particular scene is the only other remaining member of the frat besides Chad that went over to the Kappa house.
Wow, is he?
Yeah.
Were there only the 4 of them that went over?
Yeah,
I feel like there were more.
Only a handful of them went over to the house.
Okay. Including a guy who couldn't climb a ladder. And that's part of what got me about that scene, is that we have an armless guy trying the hardest to climb the ladder. For one, they left him for last. For another, no one at the top of the window is holding the top of the ladder. So the Red Devil is able to come up and whoop.
Well,
No one was holding the top, and you'd think they'd do that to stabilize it, especially when you know what's coming at the bottom. It may not have helped the guy's chances, but at least you have someone up there going, okay, we got you.
There was absolutely no effort made on anyone's part to try to save this guy. They immediately wrote him off as,
well, he's fucked.
The only thing we can do is give him the dignity of watching his death.
Then again, he didn't try to get away either.
No,
well, he didn't try to roll over. He didn't try to scoot. He just... But I will give him, the last time you were at the mercy of the Red Devils, bad things happened. So...
For sure.
I'll give him that panic reaction. Not everyone reacts the way we think they should in horror movies. I will not give Chad and company the, why didn't you grab the ladder bit.
Yeah, no. But the thing that caught my eye about the Red Devil, first of all, I love anytime the Red Devil is on screen, the shot composition is always really great. The lighting's always really great. It makes me happy to look at the screen when he's walking towards his victims. But they
make a lot of effort.
They do. It's so lovely. But the thing that caught my eye is, for one, he had a lot of fancy axe work. And 2, right before he killed this guy, he swung back like a golfer.
Yeah, he lined up the shot.
Which makes me think, okay, this is Nick Jonas right here in this Red Devil suit. And then the other Red Devil's currently in the Kappa house as that guy.
Well, and it's the first time that they've mentioned, what was his name, Dodger?
Yeah, the other twin.
Okay, no, I was thinking of... it's the first time in a while they've mentioned someone, and it was that guy was holding you back, and you know it.
Ah, yes.
And I feel like that was...
The twin, yeah.
Was it the twin?
Yeah.
I don't even remember Nick Jonas's character's name. He died so long ago, and nobody talks about him.
Well, because he's not dead. But,
well, no, I mean,
Episode 1. It was 5 weeks ago, yeah.
God, I can barely remember what I had for breakfast.
I know, right? That's what watching the amount of television that we're watching does to you.
It's problems,
It's problems. Makes you slower. Anyway,
what?
But yeah, so again, that's what makes me think that it's, that guy in the house, but at the same time Jonas. Although I am open to the possibility that one of the fraternity brothers that died this evening actually was a part of the Red Devil scheme at one point. I doubt it. I really, really highly doubt it.
I don't think so. Namely because of what we got in the preview for next week.
Yeah, no, very much so. But the thing that makes me say I'd be open to that. I'm not saying that that's what I think happened. I have my theory pretty cemented. But I'd be open to that because in the last episode, Gigi said that was a problem. He has to go. So this could have been a setup to get rid of one of the Red Devils that was causing a problem. I don't think that's the case, but
I don't think so either, because again, in the preview we got that bit of her saying we are not kidnappers, we are killers, and so I feel like she was talking to that guy.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
that's true.
Could be.
She could have just been giving him a talking to. Who knows?
Could be either which way. We just don't know. But
we don't.
Do I feel bad for Sam?
Sam. Okay, let's talk about Chanel number 3 and Sam in this episode, because Sam, when they bring up Truth or Dare, of course Chanel number 3, who now has very confusing feelings for Sam, wants to play spin the bottle so she can kind of sort all this stuff out. And what she realizes while they're playing is that she does care about Sam. And it doesn't matter if Sam happened to be a boy or a girl. It didn't matter to her. And so, like, that's character development for her, which is real interesting. But
Especially since she's made the point of, oh, I don't have emotions, I don't feel things. It's like, lo and behold, you have feelings.
We got an explanation for the earmuffs.
We did, that she had an ex who kind of turned creepy stalkery and threatened to cut her ears off if he ever saw them again, because he was obsessed with her ears. So
well, she's under
that's messed up.
She's under the impression, the very mistaken impression, that because she believes she is the daughter of Charles Manson, that her falling in love with somebody will eventually drive them crazy in one way or another.
Because she inherited his killer charisma or something like that.
Yeah, basically, she feels like if she falls in love with someone, like, terrible things will happen. They will either go mad or they will end up dead, and or both in some cases. And so she basically even tells Sam, like, hey, like, I have feelings for you, but this isn't going to work out for your own sake.
Yeah.
You know, and it comes out during the middle of Truth or Dare that...
Because Grace, of all people.
Which is very interesting.
Asking her about someone else's secret, which is weird.
Which, again,
for
because...
Grace, especially.
Because the reasoning would be that they had been spending so much time together, being alibuddies. But at the same time, it's like, that's a really contrived way of just getting it out there that, you know, what Chanel number 3's secret is, and the fact that she also has feelings for Sam all at the same time.
Honestly, I could see number 5 asking that, or Chanel herself, or
but Grace...
It's like anyone under the Chanel name I can see asking that. Grace or Zeta, I would have a harder time believing would ask, what's this other person's secret? Like, that's... I feel like you're right that it was contrived and they just needed someone to say it and it wound up being her. That doesn't seem super in character for her.
Again,
despite the fact that she's in amateur sleuth mode.
Again, to be fair, we do, like, there is a killer about, and these two have been spending a lot of time together.
That's true. There are multiple killers about.
Exactly. So, to be fair, but it did seem odd to have Grace be the one to ask the question.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's interesting. But because this comes out into the open, Chanel number 3 feels betrayed, and so she dares Sam to go and take a nap in the bath, which I did love this exchange, visual exchange between Grace and Chanel number 1, because they both know what happened in that bathtub, and I don't think anybody else does. But they both know, and so Sam goes down there, gets attacked by the Red Devil, of course, and actually this scene reminded me a lot of a scene from Halloween 5. 4 and 5 blend together for me, so I apologize if I'm mixing that up. But it's actually my favorite scene in the Halloween franchise.
Really?
There's a scene where Michael Myers is chasing his niece in the Myers household, this derelict rundown thing, and she's hiding from him, but, like, of course he's got her cornered. And so right before he kills her, she says, "Uncle, can I see?" And he stops, because it's very rare that anybody ever refers to him in terms of, like, familial relationship. And so he stops for a moment and takes off his mask. And you can't see him, but even if you could, you probably wouldn't want to because his face is all burned up and everything from the second movie. It's just a mess.
Bad things.
It's just a mess. But she looks at him and she's like, "You're just like me." And a tear rolls down his cheek. And she tries to touch him, and then he freaks out and tries to kill her, and she makes her escape. But it was just this very, very out of nowhere human scene for Michael Myers, who is, by definition, just this inhuman, unstoppable force that just murders everybody in his path. So I thought it was a very interesting, I don't know if it was an intentional homage, or if they just kind of wanted to be funny with the, "It's you, I knew it was you all along," person who I'm not referring to specifically.
But just the last, "Please don't do this, I can help you."
That was interesting. Because that could be taken as a just general plea, you'll say anything to save yourself. Or it's like, "Hey, I know you. Like, I can help you." So that
could be either.
Very interesting. And again, something that casts suspicion on Chanel number 3, but I don't see her doing this.
That Chanel number 3 being no.
I don't see her doing this. Not after having this kind of character development.
Yeah. But I do think maybe that line will make a little more sense once we know for sure who the devils are.
Again, I think it could just be something meant to keep everybody in the dark, that sort of thing. Something meant intentionally to make everybody go, oh, just tell us, that sort of thing.
Do we know if 90s Girl was ever a red devil? Like, do we know if she's ever put on the costume, or is she just ringleadering?
We don't know. There's no way for us to tell right now.
She'd know about the tunnels. She might have a key because she is the chapter representative. It's entirely possible.
She would definitely know about the tunnels, yeah.
It's possible that she is, and of course she'd know about the bathtub. It's possible that she's one of the devils. We just don't ever have a confirmation as to whether or not she's in costume. She could have told one of them, hey, there's this, here's the key, go.
Well, and it's really weird that this particular red devil would choose to kill Sam in the bathtub. Because again, Sam had nothing to do with anything, but choosing to murder somebody in the place where all of this started sends a very clear message, or a kind of muddled message, but it sends a message.
It's shocking enough to be like, this is the death tub.
Yeah, don't anybody ever take a bath in that tub.
Don't anybody ever go to the death tub.
Super gross. But yeah, so we get, and Zayday, let's talk about Zayday and Chanel being co-presidents.
Because the vote was tied.
It was surprisingly tied. I will say that I was either expecting Chanel to crush her and for Grace to have to comfort Zayday, or for Zayday to crush Chanel, and that this would be like character development for Chanel, like she'd have to learn how to be humble and or would resent and then would scheme to climb her way back to the top.
Oh, I think this is the best thing the show could have done. Just to have them being forced to work together, especially in this time of crisis, and Chanel getting thwarted in that she didn't want to be at the top anymore. So she still has to be at the top, but she also has to share it with Zayday, which for her is the worst possible scenario.
But at the same time, she's really happy about this because she's like, I wanted Zayday to win, but now this is perfect because when she inevitably dies, because she's now the one with the target on her back, she'll be able to resume all of her power as the head of Kappa.
And yet Chanel saved her.
Yes, and that is a very interesting bit. And we had a couple theories on that as well. So yeah, we get this scene with the two of them going through the tunnels to try to find a way out and to try to get help, and we see the legacy that heads of Kappas leave behind.
And they're all pretty terrible.
They're all awful people.
Oh yeah.
But sure enough, the Red Devil shows up in the coolest freaking intro, scraping 2 axes along the side of the road, or walls. Like he's Freddy Krueger. It was just so great. And then he gets Zayday cornered, and Chanel comes back and saves her, knocks him out, and the two make their escape. And Chanel's reasoning is, it was for purely selfish reasons.
I need the numbers.
But at the same time, like, when she said that, Zayday smiled at her. So it's like, either she's being completely sincere when saying that, or she has kind of more nefarious things up her scheme that she needs Zayday for, again, wanting to have kind of Zayday as like a buffer or a shield or something.
Or she's regrowing a conscience.
Or she's becoming a person.
We were talking about this earlier, like, who could she have been if she hadn't been a Kappa? Because we get bits of that in the flashback before she becomes... Or rather, before she is the top and has her own Chanels, because they were called something else when that other girl was president.
Yeah, I don't recall.
But the tradition of, you are all my name except, second of the name, third of the name, whatever.
You are an extension of me, my minions. Yeah.
And we saw that she had some personality and some on her own before she was a minion and before the previous president got acid spray tanned. Yikes.
Yeah, so it could very well be that she's reconnecting with her humanity. And again, like, part of that probably actually has to do with actually Chad leaving her and then coming back to her as well for very like, I love the way he was like,
Chad,
that girl who's rich and easy to trick, that girl is really special to me. It's like, wow, guy. That's amazing.
It's like, my dad is super rich. I know, baby. It's what I love most about you.
So funny. But
Chad.
So, again, one of the things we wanted to see from Chanel was character growth and development, and this could very be an indicator of that. I'm not quite sure, but I want to see where this goes. And even at the end of the episode, she's like, I even kind of like Zayday now, which, that's awesome. Like, and she's the idea also that after this incident, she wants to take the fight to the Red Devil. That is also very intriguing.
How did she get them all custom-made nunchucks that
She's
quickly?
Rich?
She's super rich, I guess.
Either that or maybe she was planning on giving them nunchucks earlier and this just happened to be a good time. I don't know. I would assume that it's just because she's rich.
Well, and we've also got the Dean has gone from vaguely sympathetic to outright monster, and that, oh, the lesbian and the armless guy were just cannon fodder. They were a very small price to pay for me to be able to call the parents and students of everyone else on campus and be like, as long as you are not associated with a Kappa, you're safe, you're fine, you're good. And it's just kind of...
It's what she's always wanted. Well, but it's what she's always wanted. She wanted to take down Kappa House. And now, whether or not she has anything to do with this, she's getting what she wants.
Which makes me think that she doesn't have anything to do with this and she's just being opportunistic.
Yeah, and, but at the same time, she's a good scapegoat. She is a perfect scapegoat for what these guys have in store because she wants to take down Kappa House, and everything that has been done is pointing to somebody who wants to take down Kappa House.
Plus, she and 90s girl do not get along.
No, clearly not. They want the same thing.
Speaking
Grace's
of
dad.
He shows up for the only time in this episode. It was a very adult light episode, and I was okay with that.
Well, and her sort of boyfriend also wasn't shown
there.
He was
Chanel pointed that out.
Studying.
Your kind of boyfriend, my former stalker, isn't here.
And interesting thing is, after all of this is done, he texted Grace, said, "Done studying, want to make out." So it's very convenient that he was gone the whole time all of this was going on, and the second everything is clear, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm done studying now." But again, I think that's more of like trying to cast suspicion on him. I don't think he's a part of this either. Anyway, you were saying.
Well, and Grace's dad wants to take her off campus, like, that's it, we're leaving, this is done, and she turns him down.
Well, I mean, to be fair, at this point, do we really think leaving campus would make the problem go away? One of the Red Devils hunted a woman 6 hours away down.
That's true.
Just because.
So no, at this point, like, if the camera follows you, you're screwed. And there's no guarantee that the camera would not follow her.
Exactly. So, like, just because you leave doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to be done or that it's going to go away. Like, that's just the way it is.
And she's become way too involved at this point.
Yeah, no, she's too invested. And again, even if she were to go away, the Red Devil knows who she is for sure. There's no way to get away from this at this point.
Like, I mean, if Canthal Girl were to leave, she'd probably be fine because she's not a big player in this.
No.
And if Sam had left before she'd been killed, she probably would have been fine too, because also not a big player in this. But the Chanels and Grace and Zayday.
Yeah, no. Although, it was a very meta thing for the Dean to say. It was a horrible thing for the Dean to say, but it was a very meta thing because if you just look at the cast of characters, there are ones that are, quote-unquote, cannon fodder, just scary movie-wise. So it was very meta.
Like, do you have development? No.
Ooh, monster. But I do want to talk about one more character, and that's Hester.
My God.
Because Hester is more cutthroat now than we've ever seen her. Even in the episode where she turned in Chanel into the police, I feel like she's a lot scarier in this episode.
Oh, she's become a lot more overt with it. Like, they took the brace off her and she went wild.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if that's just because she's in constant pain without her brace.
I think that's part of it. And I think part of it is she's always had a fascination with the macabre. Like, we knew that, and that's part of the reason. That's part of the reason that Chad went for her, because he thinks he's a necrophiliac, and then it turns out, no, he likes the concept a lot better than the execution.
Gross.
So to speak. And it just... Hoy. Basically, Chanel made Hester a player when she made her a Chanel. Like, when she became Chanel number 6, it was placing power into Hester's hands, and she took it and sprinted.
Well, and I want to know what type of person Hester was before coming to college, because I kind of think she was always this way to an extent, even though she had a neck brace and, you know, she didn't have her hair very nice or anything. You know, it wasn't like a she's all that makeover or anything like that, but like she straight up says that she hates getting second place. And she hates to lose, and when she wants something, she gets it, which is a very Chanel way of talking. So I don't know if she was always like this, and then came into, you know, and then came into the Chanel world and was like, okay, now I can thrive because this is who I am, or if being a Chanel is warping her perspective on everything. And I kind of tend to think that she was always like this to an extent.
See, I feel like she had the potential for it, but that she never really acted on it because, oh, you're the weird girl in the back brace is immediate social stigma. But being a Chanel has given her the opportunity and the social standing and the looks and the everything. It basically put her on the social standing from a 2 to a 9. And as a 9, she's able to act on these desires instead of just being like, okay, well, this is how I really feel, but I can't do anything about it. So I feel like instead of being a muted sociopath, she's now a raging sociopath. Because she was given the keys to the kingdom there.
I definitely agree that now having, you know, power in some way, shape, or form is definitely excelling the process or accelerating the process. But the fact about it is, like, when you have that social stigma and you're quote unquote a 2 on the totem pole, you have a chip on your shoulder. And I feel like even if, like, Chanel hadn't put, you know, if the deed hadn't put in place that the Chanels had to accept all pledges, I feel like she would have done whatever it took to become Chanel number 6. And I feel like even now she will do whatever it takes to become, you know, the next top dog.
And have Hester's number 1 through 5.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like even if she didn't get into Kappa, like, I feel like she still would have done everything within her power to become this force to be reckoned with. And yeah, she's straight up scary. And one thing I want to point out is that she didn't want to play Truth or Dare. She did not want to, which makes me think either she's planning something big or there's something in her past that she just doesn't want everybody else to know about.
Because we don't really know a lot about her past, except that the brace was because for scoliosis.
Yeah, that's literally all we know, is that she's kind of weird, macabre, as you said, and that, yeah, prior to this, she was not in very good social standings. That's literally all we got. But we also know that she's very competitive. And I know from, like, being on press lines and looking at, like, the little one sheets that she sees Chanel as a rival, that she's seen her as a rival from the get-go. Huh. So that's interesting.
That is interesting.
Anyway, so is there anything else you want to talk about before we talk about what we think is going to happen next week?
Honestly, I think that's just about it.
Yeah, no.
There was a lot.
Really good episode this week. And so next week, it looks like the Chanels are putting into a plan in place to kill Chanel number 1. And I'm guessing that completely backfires on them and that one or more of them end up dead as a result. Because we have this promo of Chanel going, this is what happens to people who cross me. Have fun being dead.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, I think we're definitely losing a Chanel next week, and I don't think it is the Chanel.
Do you think it's Chanel number 5? I think it's Chanel number 5.
I feel like it's 3.
Maybe. It's hard to say.
We've only got 2 of them left. Technically we have 3 left, but Hester.
I mean, it would also make sense.
I don't think Hester would go down that quickly. I think she's going to last till the end.
I actually see it being Hester because I think out of the 3 of them, Hester's probably the biggest threat to Chanel #1. That's my take. So maybe we're losing Hester next week. I'm not sure, but I'm excited. And
it'll be interesting to see who's in that coffin. We get 90s girl back.
Yeah, and
didn't have her at all this episode.
That's something I'm looking forward to as well, is getting more of like the motivation behind all of this and a little bit more of the person who's orchestrating it.
Because there's 10 episodes, right?
I believe so.
And the way they're airing it.
This is either 7 or 8.
The way they're airing it, they said the promo for next week is for 8. So it looks like we have 3 more episodes in. So we're getting to the point where we're going to start needing more answers than we have questions.
Exactly.
Because this is not Lost. And this is a miniseries that is going to wrap itself up.
Exactly.
And then give us another Scream Queens. They're doing it American Horror Story style.
Season 2, which I really am interested to know what they do next, like whether they'll go supernatural or if they'll do like a completely different type of slasher movie.
I feel like they'd do a different type of slasher movie because supernatural for this wouldn't fit as well.
No,
American Horror Story has dabbled in the supernatural from what I understand, and it works for them because of the tone of the show. Adding supernatural to a show like this would just be weird.
Well, it depends on whether or not each season takes place within the same world.
True.
American Horror Story works because even though all of these are individual stories, they all exist within the same continuity, but you don't have to know that going into every show. So,
well, if season 2 references the Red Devil murders at all, then we'll know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's about it. Katie, where can people go if they want to find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at Kiaxet. That's Kiaxet.
You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. Be sure to follow Silver Screams, also on Instagram and Twitter at Silver_Screams. We're also on Facebook. Be sure to keep an eye out for all the stuff we've got coming up. Again, if you have any last-minute Halloween requests, we're open to it. I might just do more Goosebumps reviews.
That'd be fun.
That'd be so fun. But anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you all next time.